Hello, it's Matt Linklater. I've been featured in Inc. magazine on ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. My mission is to change the financial landscape of America. So when you think about it as a leader, you have to push your team's envelope each and every day. You have to elevate their standard. This is really about how do you maximize your time. So how do you do it within your business? How do you figure out who your target market is? And ultimately, you want to narrow that focus, don't you? So how do you push beyond your emotions and kind of visualize your success? And you have to be congruent, one of thought, one of word, and one of action. The quality of your life is found in the rituals that you keep. The quality in your business is found in the rituals that you keep for your business. Axie, say I can.
I can.
Say I must.
I must.
Say I am.
I am.
Say Axie Unstoppable.
Stop.
Hello everybody, thanks for joining me on this week's podcast. Today I have a special treat and a special guest, a longtime friend of mine. Her name is Debra Stangl. Debra is a successful entrepreneur. She owns a great business called Sedona Soul Adventures. It's fantastic, and I've been down there and actually have taken one of her retreats. What they do is customized spiritual retreats in Sedona, Arizona. She also does retreats around the world to Egypt and Peru. Debra's great. She's a best-selling author of The Journey to Happy. And like I said, I've known Debra for about 8 years now. And so she's just an inspiring lady. She has an inspiring business, and she does inspiring things. She has a fantastic business. She's a fantastic entrepreneur. She does fantastic things for people who come down there for their spiritual retreats and spiritual awakenings. What's also fantastic about Debra and really unique is she's actually a trained lawyer, and she had a successful law practice, and she wanted more out of life. She wanted something different, and she had a spiritual awakening. So she took all her success, all her knowledge, gave up her law practice to start up Sedona Soul Adventures. And here we are 16 years later, and I don't know if she would attest to this, but I think she's touched many more lives through Sedona Soul Adventures than she could even have as a lawyer. And so I can't give her story and her journey justice. So what I want to do is to introduce you to Debra. So Debra, thanks for being on the podcast today, and thanks for joining me.
Well, thanks, Matt. Of course.
Yeah, so Debra, I think the best thing to do is, just tell us your story. Take it from the top and tell us kind of your journey and inspire us today.
Well, I was born and raised in Iowa. And, I was thinking about this a little yesterday, and I grew up in a family of 6 kids. I have 4 brothers and a sister, and my brothers are a doctor, a dentist, an engineer, and an investment banker. And then I was an attorney for 20 years, and we were all these type A personalities. My sister is a director of plays and operas, and she directs plays and operas all over the country, and she's also a voter for the Tony Awards. So we're this, high-achieving bunch, but we grew up in a very dysfunctional home where everything looked okay on the outside, but totally wasn't on the inside. And I think that those beginnings made me want to, first of all, really succeed, but also set something up where I wanted to find my happiness. And that's really what my story is about, and what I'm trying to do with helping people and couples with what we do at Sedona Soul Adventures, and then also with my book, for people to really understand and to really get that they can be happy. So I started off very, very unhappy and went to law school and graduated from law school and started my law practice, and I pretty much hated it. I loved the part where I was helping my clients, but that only felt like maybe like 10 or 20% of what I was doing. And I was a divorce attorney. So, I'm dealing with people at one of the lowest points in their life. And it just felt like my whole life was about fighting and arguing, arguing with the other attorneys, fighting the system. And I started on my spiritual path actually in 1978 when I was still in law school. My mother passed away. She was only 51 years old. And that really, really started me on wanting to look into my own life, because I feel like there was so much going on in my mother's life, and I feel like she died unhappy and frustrated.
Yeah.
And I knew that that is not what I wanted to have happen to me. So in 1999, I had just started my 20th year of law practice. My life was at a real low point. I was in an unhappy marriage. I was $50,000 in debt because of some business decisions that my ex-husband had made that then, of course, had an impact, on me. And I was 40 pounds overweight. I hated the work that I was doing. And I came to Sedona for 3 days. I had never been here. I came here for what I thought was going to be just 3 days of being quiet. And instead, I did one session with a practitioner who's still a very important part of the work that we do, Ranjita. I'm pretty sure you did a session with her out at her beautiful place. Yeah. And I got the message. I mean, literally what happened, and this might sound strange to some of your listeners, because I know your listeners are mainly, business people and very straight. And I have to say, my background couldn't be any straighter than it is, being an attorney from Ottumwa, Iowa, for God's sake. But literally what happened was my high self came to me in a vision during this session, and she looked like Isis, the Egyptian goddess that has the wings. And she folded her wings around me, and she said, everything's going to be okay, but you've got to leave your law practice now, or you're going to die like your mother did. And what had been happening for me was, for 5 years before that, I would pray and meditate, and I would say, God, please tell me what to do. I'm so unhappy. And I would actually hear the message that I was supposed to leave my law practice. And my immediate response was, well, I can't do that. I'm $50,000 in debt. I'm the sole support for my family. There's no way that I can do that. And I wouldn't even explore it or look at it. This time, when I got that message, and at that time, I was exactly the age my mother was when she got sick with cancer, and she died 5 years later. And so I heard that message. I went home, and I thought, I don't know how I'm possibly going to do this. I not only don't have any money set aside, I'm $50,000 in debt, but somehow I'm going to do this. And during the next 2 weeks, I tried to figure out with my lawyer brain how I could possibly manage this. And instead, at one point, I went into a meditation, and I felt this huge release happen, where I just knew that I had to do this, and somehow it was going to be okay. I literally said, okay, God, I get it. I'm going to do this, but I got to have some help. And literally within just a few hours, I got a phone call from one of my clients whose case was already finished. I don't even know why he called me. He was asking me some questions, and at the end of the call, he told me he had just bought a new business, refinancing mortgages. I said to him, do you think you could help me reduce my mortgage payment? And I gave him my address. He called me back in 10 minutes. He said, I can cut your mortgage payment in half, and I can get you $50,000 in cash. And in a matter of hours, after going into that place of surrender and dropping my resistance, this thing that had been around my neck for 5 years, owing this $50,000, was just gone. And so I spent 6 months closing my practice. I started coming out to Sedona. I came here, and what ended up happening was, for the next 3 years, I came out here for about a month at a time usually. And I would do 1 or 2 different sessions with different practitioners who are here. And if you have never, for those of you who have never been to Sedona before, it is this incredibly beautiful place of red rock mountains, and also known around the world as a spiritual Mecca. And so people are drawn here from all over the world to do their work. So I kept finding all these amazing practitioners. And literally 2 weeks before 9/11, I was doing another session, and my high self came in again and said, it's time to move to Sedona. And I said, what for? And of course, my experience with all this is that they never show you the whole thing. They only show you the next step.
Sure.
And so I went back to Omaha, met with the real estate guy. He said it would take 6 months to sell my house. I ended up selling my house in 3 days for $30,000 more than what they told me I could sell it for. And I moved to Sedona, sat here for 6 months, not having any idea what I was supposed to be doing. And then I started having dreams about this and saw how my working one-on-one with these different practitioners in private sessions, because I had gone to so many workshops and seminars and read books and bought courses, and I had done a ton of traditional therapy also, but I had done all of these, group things and all of that. And the thing that I saw that had really, really made the difference for me, that had transformed my life, was working one-on-one with these incredible practitioners. And that's where Sedona Soul Adventures came from.
You have so much packed into what you just said, and it is, and it's so relatable. And so, because we're talking to a business audience, right? But
Yeah.
let me just kind of, but it's so relatable, right? So, how many of us are great, powerful people in business per se, and maybe we don't have great relationships at home, or our health is failing, and so I think everybody can really relate to, hey, here I was, a high-powered lawyer, have a marriage that wasn't necessarily happy in. My husband was putting me in debt. You're 40 pounds overweight. You're just burned out. You're not leading the life you want. I mean, we all can relate to that. The other thing too is, some of the words you use, and I am on the same page with you because of my practices and things that I study. Is as a business person, we meditate every day. My brother, my business partner, he meditates every day. Me and my wife meditate in the morning for 15 minutes. We have a spiritual process. And then we do it at night for 15 minutes together because we feel like the powerful energy together and sending our thoughts out and kind of centering ourselves. But I have other practices too, Deborah. So when people go to Sedona, just kind of unpacking this a little bit and kind of bridging maybe a little bit of, if there is a gap, is I actually go to a Russian bathhouse, and what I do is I sit in a sauna it's over 200 degrees, and I like to sit there in quiet, right? And so it kind of just shifts my energy and shifts my environment. And great people like Ariana Huffington and Schultz of Starbucks, they all have a meditative practice. And something else you said was really, really cool is that you went back and your lawyer brain went on. And, you said, how can I make this possible? And Deborah, there was no logic in that, was there? You couldn't find logically how that would work for you rather than being a lawyer. I'm sure of it, right?
No, absolutely not. How can you quit your job when you have no money coming in and you're $50,000 in debt?
Yep. And so you did all the research, right? And even you go to Egypt, and people at MIT today would tell you that the pyramids cannot be built today, but somehow they're there. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that's pretty powerful. So tell me a little bit about why the people that come down to Sedona, if you don't mind, some of your clients, because I know you have great business people, you have people from all over the country, all over the world coming. What are some of the problems that they're facing that they seek out the spiritual adventure, if you will?
Well, it's so interesting because everybody shows up with different stuff going on. They're burned out, or they're afraid, or they've they've got a situation in their life that they can't deal with, or if it's a couple, they've lost the sizzle, or they don't care about each other as much as they used to, or even worse, they've got some big problems going on, like infidelity, or the marriage is in crisis because of other things that are going on. But the real truth is, all of that stuff is just a symptom of the real problem, because the real problem is that they are not connected to that highest part of themselves, which is perfect and happy and has never been violated or hurt or anything like that. And when we can reconnect up with that and connect up with it on all the levels, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, when we're, cooking on all 4 burners, when we are really, really going like that, when that connection is hooked back up, then absolutely everything is possible. Anything is possible. So, what I believe Einstein proved, and now what's happening is they're proving, over and over and over again, everything is all about energy. Everything.
That's right.
Even, the chair that I'm sitting on, which feels so strong and hard, it's just really a bunch of subatomic particles running around in space. And when you really understand that everything is energy, then that means everything can be shifted.
Yep.
Everything is much more changeable, much more malleable than we think it is. And so problems that we think are just so huge and insurmountable, they're just not. It's all about, you said it when you were talking about just getting into the tub of hot water. It shifts your energy. And so everything that we're doing here in Sedona, and again, what I was saying is the reason that this works so well is because everything is so custom designed for everyone.
Yep.
And so we spend a whole lot of time talking to people before they come to really get an idea of what's going on with them, what's happening, what do they want to have happen. And we uncover where their blocks are, what's blocking them, what's holding them back, what's causing the problem. And whether it's with an individual or with a couple, and with a couple, what we're doing is finding out what's blocking each one of them individually. And then what happens is we design the retreat so that the first thing that we're doing is literally getting at and removing those blocks, moving them back into connection on all the levels, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and then giving them very simple tools for not only maintaining that, but having it continue and go deeper and deeper. So the real secret sauce here is, which I don't even, we don't talk about it like this with our clients, because everything is their exact problem. But this is what it comes down to for everyone. It's all about where are they in disconnect and what has to happen to bring them back into connection.
Yep. And what you're saying is, 100% in line with just a lot of my trainings have been through, really are based in a lot of Gestalt type therapies. And so what you said there is, what we have is all these things that have injured us emotionally from the past. And, when we're from 0 to 7, we're in a hypnagogic trance and everything's just downloaded. And we start making a decision. We start making decisions about fear. We start making decisions about guilt. We start making decisions about happiness. We just start making all these decisions, and we build all these defenses, these filters, and these beliefs. And they're there to protect us, and they help us be successful too. but at some point they start wearing on us, and then they take away from our health and our relationships. And so by coming to you, you have all those modalities down there that start shifting all their beliefs, all their filters, and changing the way they see the world, right? Is that
Exactly.
Right? Now,
Yeah, exactly. And what's so wonderful is I started off with 10 practitioners,
mm-hmm.
and I now have 50.
Yeah.
And they are just the master practitioners here in Sedona. And the thing that is so wonderful is that each of them does actually one or two different types of modalities. They usually have one that is really their masterpiece, and that they've been doing for a really long time, because it's all about finding the way in.
Yep.
Because the way that everybody got here is different. Mm-hmm. The way that they're going to be helped is going to be different.
Yep.
Everybody's completely different. So something that works on one person is not going to work on another person.
That's right.
And something that's going to work for somebody who's, very much we just had somebody here this week who he's an engineer, and his training is just so completely in the the 3D world and all that kind of thing. And when one of my practitioners started talking to him about the scientific studies that have been done on what happens with your breath, and what, particularly the type of breath work that we do here, mm-hmm. and just the scientific studies that have been done for what meditation does. Finally, he could start to hear that. And so having these different ways in for helping people is just so amazing, because what works for one person is not going to work for everybody. And that's what's so great about what we do, because everywhere else that you go, they're doing their thing, and here when you go to another retreat, if you go to a regular retreat, you're getting what that person does.
Right.
But when you come here, we're figuring out what do you need and setting it up for exactly what that person or that couple needs.
And so Debra, take me through the process. I know it, right? But so
mm-hmm.
just give you kind of what I'm thinking to lead you down the path, So we call it, they call an angel guide. Take me all the way through, then getting there. What does a retreat actually look like? And I don't think, so what I want you to do is paint how awesome Sedona is. I think it's one of the greatest places I've ever been. And listen to it on a podcast. We got to give it justice, So take me through, hey, I want to come there. What do I do? And then all the way through when I leave. What does that look like?
Okay. Well, people typically find us either through a recommendation or on the internet. Mm-hmm. And we have retreat guides, a guide for individual retreats and for couples retreats that people can get on the internet to get a little idea about what we do. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, we're encouraging them to contact us to speak with an angel guide. And that's what I call my people who put together the retreats. Mm-hmm. And they have, all of them are I was the original angel guide for the first, you know how it goes. I started the business out of my house, and I did everything, I did everything at the beginning. And so I was the original angel guide for the first 3 years. And now I don't do that anymore. And I have 6 angel guides who work for me. Mm-hmm. And they're all very intuitive, highly intuitive, and trained to, when they talk to people, they're not only deeply listening to what the people are saying to them, but they're also going underneath. Mm-hmm. Because there's so much, that people aren't saying. And I have so many people who say, gosh, I just feel so much better just talking to the angel guide, because you know, for so many of us, we don't have anybody in our life who really listens to us.
Right.
You know, unless we're lucky enough to have, you know, a very wonderful friend or a very wonderful spouse. So that deep listening is just so incredibly valuable. And so we're really spending a lot of time really getting underneath and talking to people and really getting a sense of what are the blocks that are causing the trouble for them. What are the beliefs? What are the wounds? Because the biggest thing that I see over and over and over again is that almost everyone has some version of I'm not good enough, or there's something wrong with me, or I'm not perfect, or, you know, some variation of that is creating trouble for them. So then we put together the retreat for them, and the retreats are never the same, but the basic ideas of the retreat are that, well, I'm skipping ahead. So then if they need help with finding a place to stay, because we're not a residential retreat. We also want that, we're not a place where you come and stay here. Sedona is a tiny little town. It's just 10,000 people. We have one main road, but we get 4 million visitors a year because it's so incredibly beautiful. USA Today voted Sedona a few years ago the #1 most beautiful place in the country to visit. And it is just so spectacularly beautiful. It's about an hour and a half north of Phoenix. And so once people decide that they want to do the retreat, then we have lodging places that we recommend to them. And again, everybody's different with where they want to stay. Some people want to stay at a five-star resort. Some people just want, you know, a place that's clean and comfortable. Some people want, you know, a thing where there's a lot of people around. Some people want to be very private and quiet. And so we help them. And I have a number of places that I connect with and work with, because I have places that I know will be the most advantageous and helpful for the retreat. And so we help them with that. People are then flying into Phoenix, and here's my UPS delivery. Sorry about that. So anyway, so I work from my home because I'm sitting here right now. I have a beautiful view of the Red Rocks, and I just get a lot more done at home if I don't go into the office. The only time I go into the office now is I do greet people when they come for their solar event. So, so we help people with finding where they want to stay. And then, like I said, Sedona is so small. It's so easy to get around here. And what the other part of what is so special with the retreats that we do is that you're doing the sessions in the private space of each of the practitioners. Yep. So for most of the practitioners, you're doing the work in their home, in their healing space that they have set with their own energy and their intentions. And that's something that you can actually almost feel right when you walk in. So unlike other places where you're doing sessions where there's people next door and you can hear them and all that kind of thing, these are completely private and just so beautiful. And it's a part of Sedona that most tourists don't ever get to see. Yeah. And we sometimes have people say, well, no, I just want to go somewhere and I don't want to, you know, I don't want to have to drive to see my practitioner when, I mean, usually the drive is like 5 minutes. Right. And then at the end, it turns out to be something that they appreciate the most. So people come, and we have a rule that people do not start their retreat on the day that they are traveling here. We have a lot of type A personalities who want to do that, They get on a flight at 5 a.m. from New York, and they get here at noon, and they drive up from Phoenix, and they're like, I want to start. And it's part of what we do, of really getting people to start to get what it feels like to slow down and to become present and to really be noticing what's going on and to not be rushing around and trying to cram in as much as you possibly can into every single hour of the day, because there is this revitalization that happens when you make the decision to stop doing that. So people will have arrived here the day before. They're always, if they've never been here, they're absolutely amazed at how beautiful it is, and I love it. The very first time I came here at night, and the next morning I woke up and couldn't believe how incredibly beautiful it was. So people come to our office, which is very beautiful, which has views of Cathedral Rock, and we do an orientation with them to just go through everything. And then what's happening in their retreat, people are here a minimum of 3 full days for individuals, 4 days for couples, and most people usually end up spending 5 days here, so that they're usually gone from home for a week. And the way the retreats are designed is the first part of the retreat is sometimes giving them information, especially, some people want to have actual information, so they might do a reading with someone. I love the Enneagram. I'm a huge proponent of the Enneagram, which is a personality inventory.
Yeah.
And I have a lot about the Enneagram in my book. It's a personality inventory that's been around since actually since the time of the Crusades. The Crusaders brought this back from the Middle East. It originated in the Middle East, so it's been around for a long time. And it's really kind of astounding. And especially when couples do the Enneagram, they suddenly discover where a lot of the root of some of the trouble is, particularly in their communication. So we'll very often start off with some informational sessions like that. Then the sessions go into the clearing sessions, what I would call the emotional clearing sessions. These are the ones that are getting out what I would call the gunk. Where are you stuck? What is the problem that is creating this stuff for you and blocking you? And we will discover even deeper with going into things that happen particularly in childhood, and beliefs, and uncovering especially beliefs that are not helping you. So one of my favorite sessions is called Core Belief Transformation, because people have these core beliefs that are running them and they don't even know it. It's running them on an unconscious level. And I love this session so much because it's operating again on all the levels: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. We have sessions to clear anger. We have sessions to clear grief. There are so many people out there that are struggling with grief. That is a huge thing that's going on right now. Grief and anger and resentment and fear of failure, fear of success, all of those things. It shows up differently for everyone. So the first part of the retreat is really dedicated to clearing out this gunk. And people will typically do 2 sessions around that. Again, coming at it from different ways. So then the next part of the retreat is designed to really bring people back into connection. And a cornerstone of the retreats that we do is what we call inner breath journeys. And it's called different things by different people. Holotropic breath work is was pioneered by Stan Grof. We do a process that is close to that, but was pioneered by one of his people, that also includes music, and it's where you're doing a special type of breathing where all kinds of different things can happen for people. People go into altered states typically with this. And when Stan Grof first pioneered this, he was a psychiatrist in California who was using LSD with his clients before it was illegal. And he was having people, his patients were having unbelievable experiences with literally going into altered states and having their consciousness just expand in ways that were absolutely incredible, seeing visions, being able to, one of the things that's happening right now is that the government is now starting to use controlled experiments of LSD and ecstasy to help people who are suffering from PTSD to use those drugs to look at the traumatic event from a different and higher consciousness. Yeah. And they're having incredible success with that. So when LSD was outlawed, Stan Grof said, well, I'll bet there's got to be a way to help people go into that state without using drugs. And he started studying the Vedas and the yogis in India and discovered the amazing things that they did with breath. And so that's how he developed this. And so it's an incredible process where you're doing connected breath, meaning there's no stopping between the inhale and the exhale. And people, like I said, have unbelievable experiences with this. For very many people, this is the first time that they've ever had what feels like a direct connection to the divine or to that highest part of themselves, or seeing themselves as something different than just, a human being in 3D reality. And the studies and the experiences that people have had, unbelievable. So almost everyone does that unless it's contraindicated for them. And then we also we give them the music so that they can continue to do this at home. And then typically after that, I love to have people have a massage, a really deep, wonderful hour-and-a-half massage, because after you've done all that, it just feels really good. And a lot of people, we have a lot of energy workers and body workers here, and I just feel like, doing that kind of thing with that kind of relaxation, making your body feel really good, all of that is just so important. So we'll sometimes have people who get a massage every day while they're here, because it's just also helping to integrate things. Then the next part of the retreat is going to be probably sessions with, they will be sessions with really cementing in this connection that's now happened, because at this point, we will have moved them into the connection on the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual level, and we'll do 1 or 2 sessions to cement that in and giving them tools, simple tools that they can use to continue that. Then at the end, we do what's called an intuitive integration, which is all about what's happened, what went on, and putting together an action plan for when they go home. And because the whole point for me is I don't want people to come here and have a few days where they feel good and then go back to their life and everything is the same. For me, this is all about transformation, and I want people's lives and relationships to be completely transformed. And we are giving them tools to go home and really help everything, not only to maintain, but to deepen. And then 30 days after that, we do a phone call with them, a coaching call, to see how they're doing, help with, how's it going? How's the plan going? And then after that, we offer ongoing coaching for people who want to do that. Now, There's other sessions that we do, like going out on the land, connecting with the vortex energy, doing yoga on the land. I mean, we have so many other things that we do that are also very, very, very wonderful, but that's the core. Mm-hmm. And for a couple, it's really very similar because we bring them together at the beginning and do some work with them, but then what we're focused on is they do sessions after that separately to get at their core wounds, because it's their core wounds that are causing the problem in the relationship. And, you know, the other piece that's always going on, you know, we'll have people who call who will say, you know, we need to come and you need to fix my husband. Well, you know, that is just never what's happening. It's always going on with both people. Right. And so we're dealing with the core wounds for both of them, and then moving both of them into this connected, highly connected space where they're feeling connected, usually for the very first time in their life, mm-hmm. and then bringing them back together as a couple, and you know, doing a bunch of stuff with communication skills, and then especially, you know, what do we need to move forward to have an absolutely amazing relationship. So that took a long time, but that's you know, it's a big deal, and it's a big process. And then we stay in touch with all of our people. I do a newsletter every week, and then, you know, a lot of my people come on the trips to Egypt and Peru, and I have so many friends now who were and are clients. And you know, my very best friend started off as a client, and because, you know, these are the people that I want to be with. They're fun and conscious and really care about their lives.
Mm-hmm. You know, everything you said and right there is, you know, I picked up from Sedona Soul Adventures and continue today. You know, one of the things you said about the breath work is I use that in my daily meditation practice. So mm-hmm. what happens is, you know, what you're saying and what I believe is that, you know, we're pulled in so many directions. We're just going around, and if people, you know, realize we're 80 to 90% of the time, we're just running around in our unconscious patterns. Our reactions, you know, we're just reacting all day long. Mm-hmm. Certainly we do some things with conscious volition because we're achievers. And a lot of people that come there are achievers. A lot of people on this podcast are going to be achievers. But, you know, what's great is how do you pull yourself back from that so you can get some mental clarity? And for me, you know, some of the things we talked about, if I go to the sauna that's over 200 degrees or do some things, mm-hmm. or I go to the gym or I do yoga once a week, is because I need to separate myself. You know, I've always been, you know, a hard charger. I work out and do those things. But, you know, sometimes when I need that shift, I go to the gym, I go to yoga. But I wanted to explain to you, you know, when you were saying about that breath work, that 15-minute practice I have every morning, we do 100 breaths. And I believe it's the same because it's very similar to what you just described. And I know I got it from you. I just don't know if I bastardized it or changed it so much over the years. But we do 100 breaths to shift our state and shift our body. And when it does, it allows me to drop into meditation deeper, faster.
Absolutely. Well, the thing that's so amazing is what people don't understand is that by using some of this, you can make your success and your abundance and your health and everything just so much better.
Yep.
You know, this is not, I'm not saying don't work hard and don't, you know, do all that stuff. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is this stuff can be utilized, and they've proven it over and over and over again, especially with meditation, that all of this can be utilized to make all of this even better and more incredible. The more focused we are, and the more conscious we are, that's when we can go into these amazing states where when we're connecting with the energy of the universe, because that's what I believe is happening.
Yep.
When we when we can connect with that energy, it's just unbelievable what happens. And I've seen it over and over and over again in my life. And that's what my book's about, because my book is divided up into chapters about each part of your life, about, you know, loving yourself, loving everybody else, your body, your work, your relationships, your money. And all of those things can be made unbelievably spectacular by just becoming more conscious about what you're doing, and by doing something to be bringing yourself into connection and alignment with that energy. When you do that, that's where all of this is coming from. And I would tell you, Matt, if you did, because the breath journey that we do, the inner breath journey that we do, it's an hour and 20 minutes with this music that's designed to move the energy through the energy centers. Mm-hmm. If you did that occasionally, where you took, you know, set aside an hour and a half and set the intention, if you did that, when I first started doing that, I did it once a week for 10 weeks. This is back in 1990. And it totally changed my life at that time. And this is what we tell our clients to do. Go home and keep on doing this once a week for 10 weeks, and then do it as needed after that. Matt, I'm going to send you the music again. And I'll tell you if you, and I'll send you the instructions too for that breath, because that breath is designed to put you into an altered state. And when you go into that altered state, that's when you're going to get information that's not going to come in any other way. You're right. Or, you know, so I'm going to send that to you, because I think if you did that again and did it occasionally, especially with what you're doing daily, it's just going to amp everything up.
And right, I'm a financial company, so we're not supposed to do this stuff, but we do this one with our employees. So, you know, we do this with my brother and our employees over a conference call, video call. And I do this in my own house. And, you know, my wife, she's a high-powered business lady. She's an executive in the corporate world, and she does this, right? So it's not this, I'm just trying to say, you know, not to, because, you know, some people say, oh, this is woo-woo stuff or ethereal, but it's not. This is what we are, right? We are energy. And so when you can connect with it, and so, you know, I know people do meditation different ways. I know I'm a trained hypnotist, and so I do some hypnosis on myself and things. But what I do is, so we do 100 of these breaths, and then we sit and we think of what we're grateful for. So we try to find things we're grateful for. And then I shift to, okay, how can I harness the energy of the world, the infinite God, whatever you want to call it? We all call it different things. So I say, how do I harness all that energy? And then how do I give that energy out to the folks that I deal with, that you know, the world, and that are in my life, and how do I affect them in that positive way? And then I start thinking about, what are my 3 biggest things that we want to achieve in the next 6 months? And we just start thinking of the biggest goals we have to design our lives. And what I just find, it just kind of centers me for the day and puts me in that state for success, and to go out into the day and handle all the great things that we all do, right?
Exactly. And it just puts you in this space to allow everything to come in. Because, see, I believe that the world is a very, very, very abundant place.
It is.
And that it's all about us allowing it in. That what's happening for most people is they're doing all this stuff of going into resistance, going into, you know, whatever you want to call it, or however it's showing up for them. And so what we're teaching people to do is to allow all the abundance and love and happiness and health and vitality and energy, just allowing it to come in. That's a lot easier than making things happen. This is the thing for me that was the biggest aha moment, and kind of the main thing that my book is about is that, you know, I could make a lot of things happen just by working really hard and by the sheer force of my will. But when I finally tapped into all this, it's so much easier with so much bigger results.
Right.
So it's amazing.
Well, Deborah, I mean, we shared so much great stuff, and we could go on for days and keep picking your brain. You're a wealth of knowledge around this, and just with the practitioners you have there, and learning from them, and your dedication to this. Now, how can we touch more people, or how can people find you? So how should people get more information about you? Do you have a couple websites, or a website, or a phone number they can call? What's the best way to get more information about you and Sedona Soul Adventures and the great work you do?
The best way is to go to our website, sedonasouladventures.com, and there's all kinds of ways to connect with us on the website. You can ask to do an angel guide consultation, which of course is no cost and no obligation. You can go on and get a copy of our spiritual retreat guides. That's right on the homepage of the website. The phone number is right there, but going to the website is the best, which is www.sedonasouladventures.com.
Awesome. And I'll have that link right next to this podcast, and I'll make this into a video cast. I'll explain that. But so go to sedonasouladventures.com, get the plethora of information, and really it's about connecting to your true self, getting rid of all that baggage that we accumulate over time, and living the life that we're meant to live, whether that's emotionally, spiritually, business, relationship, and health. I think that's really what Sedona Soul Adventures is. So, Deborah, I appreciate you being on the call today, and providing the great value that you do to the world. I mean, you're the epitome of giving to the world and providing a great value and a needed service. So definitely appreciate the type of business that you have and what you dedicated your life to. So
well, thank you.
Yeah, no problem, Deborah. Good.
The funny thing is, I just did this. I started off doing this. It all started not starting a business, but this all came from me just wanting to be happy and connected.
Yep.
And then when that happened for me, it was like, oh my gosh, I can help other people do that too.
And that's what makes it so great, right? It's you've been through it, you understand the business person's journey, and it's just a great testament that you've lived it and you provide it, and people get to reap the rewards of what you found. So, well, Deborah, Deborah, I appreciate you being on the call. Thank you so much. Everybody go to sedonasouladventures.com and get some more information. And again, thank you, Deborah. I really appreciate this.
You're so welcome.
Axie. Say, I can.
I can.
Say, I must.
I must.
Say, I am.
I am.
Say, Axie Unstoppable.
Unstoppable.